in the morning, so I don't really have any of the feedback. But I think that's my personal opinion. What's going on in the Netherlands is, you have to remember, March 15th, the coming Wednesday, elections, general elections. Who's leading the polls? Bingo. Why is the incumbent Prime Minister, Rutte, showing strength? Just put 2 and 2 together and don't say 5. Okay? I think he's trying to undermine Geert Wilders. That's my opinion. Okay?
Is it that easy to do?
People are easy to influence, right?
Absolutely.
If you don't have strong values, it's easy to stray, right? My opinion. Please don't, I'm here. I'm now into American politics because I watch Fox News all the time. So I'm not as knowledgeable yet, but I look to Europe and I'm like, oh my God, what is going on there? And I'm tell you what, when Erdogan starts sending those refugees, asylum seekers again, that deal between the European Union and Erdogan, I think he's already said he would actually start sending them again. So he's blackmailing Europe. I think that's gonna cause a lot of problems for a lot of governments in Europe. Last point, Erdogan. I snuck into a high-level conference called the Alliance of Civilizations. You may have heard of that. Together with Marcia Henrik. Okay, in, what was it, 14, 15? And we snuck in there disguised as journalists. And I saw Erdogan for the first time in person, just, across the room. And I can tell you, I had shivers when he spoke. I looked at his facial expressions. I had shivers, and I said, this man is the new Hitler. And again, I've been proven correct. That's what he's planning, right? We all know what he's planning. He's saying it. He's telling us. Well, he wants to reinstate the death penalty in Turkey. That's one of the reasons why there's so much uproar in Austria, in Europe right now, because there is a referendum planned in Turkey, and all the government ministers, Erdogan's ministers, are now fanning out and going to different European countries to talk to the large Turkish populations there. And he wants a Turkish empire. That's his goal. And I don't want that. So it scares me. And I'm very afraid. You can't scare me very easily. But Erdogan really, really scared me when I saw him. Noni, wait. First you and then Noni, please. Thank you.
In Europe, is it possible?
Not yet.
They can get that?
Yeah. And even if it were censored, there's Whitopia, right? There's always the possibility of getting around that. I mean, nowadays, we had, in the beginnings of the internet, when I was still living in Kuwait, we had censorship. I couldn't access any of or very few of the European websites at the time. Now it would be no problem, because I'd get Whitopia and circumvent that. Get a different, what is it called? IP address, thank you.
But
okay.
Along those lines, is there a Fox News for Europe?
No.
Not Fox brand, but is there
I know what you mean. No.
Not at all.
No.
Nowhere.
No. Not that I know of.
Not
No.
Sky News.
No.
What was the question, Scott?
Is there a Fox News in Europe? A Fox News
Is there a
type?
conservative media
No.
in Europe?
No conservative media at all. But what's interesting is that the Austrian Freedom Party has its own news channel, and they upload it to YouTube, I think, every week, and it's a tremendous success. And when Geert Wilders was in Austria, I think in 15, he was so impressed. He said he would also start something like that. I don't know if he got around to it. I think he did, but I'm not really sure. But that's the closest you can get.
Not even radio?
We don't have talk radio in Europe. No, no. It's unheard of. Noni.
Yeah. When you said if you try to speak in Europe, you won't have an audience,
Yes.
which means that Europe is allowing this.
Yes. I
There's
agree.
attraction to
Yes.
Islam in Europe.
Yes.
And because of the loss of biblical values and secularism, because secularism on its own, without a foundation, calling itself a religion that feeds it. Islam feeds secularism, because I think secularism wants Islam. It's very attracted to Islam. And the war between Islam and the Bible is starting right now
I
in
agree.
the West, in Europe and America.
I would call it a war between Judeo-Christian values
And Islamic
And
values,
Islamic
and secularism,
values.
with secularism and Islam are one.
I mean,
one
you can
block.
be secular in a Judeo-Christian civilization, okay? But
Yeah,
I mean, what you're
but
talking about
that
is
kind of-
rabid secularism. I
Where
understand.
secularism usually ends up being anti-biblical.
Yes, or anti.
And
Creator.
and this anti-biblical movement
Mhm.
is very strong in
Yeah.
Europe and loves Islam.
Yeah.
And that's where the
I mean-
the collision happens.
Without, going into biblical values or anything of the sort, I always say, if the world followed the Ten Commandments, the world would be a better place,
That's the biblical
right?
values.
I'm saying that, but it's easier to call it, if we all of us, no matter what we are, followed the Ten Commandments, the world would be a better place. And Islam doesn't have Ten
Well,
Commandments.
the secularists in America want to take out the Ten Commandments
Exactly.
because
And look
they
at
are biblical.
look at the European Union when the Constitution, the European Constitution, was adopted, or before it was adopted, there was massive discussion about what to do. Should we have in the Constitution any reference to God? Well, guess what? There's nothing in the Constitution, no reference to God. So that means we're a godless society.
And that's why we attract Islam.
Exactly. And if we don't have any values at all, of course it's easy to succumb to Islamic values. My opinion, personal opinion. Yeah? And then you. Thousands of judges, of teachers, of whoever. I mean, these people are all in jail.
Or killed.
I don't know any reports of killed, but being jailed probably corresponds to being killed. Okay?
Who did this?
Now in Western Europe,
Which country?
Turkey.
what's happening in Western Europe? So journalism is effectively dead, or they're just mouthpieces of the state? What's happening here?
Well, I mean, the journalists. I would compare it. If I said this in Europe, I'd probably be hanged. But I would use the German word Gleichschaltung.
Which is,
What do we call Gleichschaltung? I mean, it's a word that's also used in English when you study the rise of National Socialism. When everything becomes equal.
so
I
that you went as a journalist with 200 people is very courageous.
who?
You went into Turkey
Oh,
and said
I didn't go into Turkey. No. This conference was in Vienna, and it was under the auspices of the Austrian Foreign Ministry. It was an annual conference for the Alliance of Civilization, which is a UN-sponsored lovey-dovey conference where all civilizations, all religions are equal and they're equally good, and we all love each other. And it was actually a scary brainwashing of young people because there were a lot of young people, students. What is it? Did you check Gleichschaltung?
Yeah, it's in Nazi terminology. Gleichschaltung was the process of Nazification by which Nazi Germany successively established a system of totalitarian control which made everything the same, and coordination over all aspects of society that's the less formal definition is the standardization of political, economic, and social institutions and as carried out in authoritarian states.
You will
So it's
find-
equivalent saying that can only happen under authoritarian.
Exactly. And it's a word that you will actually find in school books, or used to. I mean,
Or saying
Gleichschaltung.
the same thing.
Yeah. So, and again, I would not say these words in Austria or in Europe at all. Okay? I'm really now exercising my First Amendment rights. I would not get away with saying that.
So is the mentality the same as political practice?
Yeah, in Austria, I self-censor myself all the time. I really haven't. I've been through this once. I don't have the desire to go through it again. It was very expensive and time-wise and money-wise.
Well, what happens if you say something here and it's heard online there?
First Amendment, I'm here. So if you put this online, whoever listens to this, I am physically in the United States of America right now, and I am exercising my First Amendment rights as a visitor to this beautiful country. Yes. I promised you, and then Deborah.
What do you see as Merkel's endgame?
Good. Good question. I don't know. She hasn't written a book, so we probably don't know.
Has there been any discussion in Europe as to what there might be
No.
behind all her?
No. No. Mm-mm. It's like Bosch, tell me, or Noni, tell me if I'm wrong, but if you're a Muslim, you always leave some semblance of your Muslim being inside you. You know, I've been told by Sam Solomon, he still acts sometimes as a, you know, Sam Solomon, right? As a Muslim. So it's never 100% out of your system. And she was a communist, so I guess there's still some have more communist thinking, others have less communist thinking. But I think that might be one of the reasons. She still has that totalitarianism inside her. She was raised as a communist, so it's there. It's there, okay? Just as when I smell Middle Eastern food, it will always, you know, bring back memories of my youth. So that's how it is. I guess that's how the mind works. But again, my own opinion. Okay.
What about your youth?
Growing up in Iran, Iraq, working in Kuwait and Libya as an adult.
Thank you.
What were you doing here?
Working at the Austrian embassy, and my dad was a diplomat.
Yeah, you have an American accent.
I grew up in the U.S. I went to school, and in 8th grade I had to study the Constitution in order to pass 8th grade and go on to high school. And I always tell the story at the time, you know, I was 13 years old, you know, in the middle of puberty, and I said, why do I have to study the U.S. Constitution? It's not mine. I should be studying my own Constitution. Again, you know, I didn't have a choice. I had to study it. And little did I know back then that my very, very liberal Chicago social studies teacher would have such an effect on me later on, because I don't know if there are many Austrians or many Europeans who have such an intimate and intensive knowledge of American history and the American Constitution. So, you know, thanks to my upbringing in the U.S., I can talk to you about the United States Constitution and get away with it, actually. I promised you, and then we'll go here.
With regard to the comments about First Amendment rights and speculation about what that would difference in Europe, I have to say I don't think it would make a difference without Second Amendment rights.
Well, I was actually
Right.
basically referring to the entire Bill of Rights.
Right.
You can't have a Second Amendment without the first, obviously.
Right, because as we know, the political class does what they will and they're currently
Yeah.
doing. So I'm not surprised by what the political elite are doing across Europe. What
Well, I'm not surprised either.
No, I'm not surprised in that if you look at the progressives who are all some derivation of Marxism, whatever, you know,
Mhm.
whatever derivation they are, left or right, because a lot of the conservative quote-unquote parties are actually progressive, and then we've got some of that going on here.